Welcome. Tonight we are thrilled to host S.J. Ewing and dancers on the Millennium stage for the performance of Australia Homeland. This evening's performance is a part of the Kennedy Center's local dance commissioning project, which annually awards commissioning funds to dance artists from the DC metro region. I encourage you to read more about the project on the last page of your program. We are also currently accepting applications for the 2014 commissions, and that information can be found on our website. Tonight, we invite you to join us for a brief Q&A with the artists directly following the performance. And now, please join me in welcoming S.J. Ewing and dancers to the stage.
long way from Frisco Bay to Aussie's distant shore. And yet one day there flew away a plane with a crew of 4. They took their lives right in their hands and flew across the foam to see a sight of Aussie sands and the dear ones here at home. Kingsford Smith was pilot, he had no thought of fear, and now that he has landed, let's give a mighty cheer for Kingsford Smith. Aussie is proud of you, proud it's true, of you and your gallant crew through the storm so terrific, flying o'er the Pacific. Kingsford Smith, flying by day or night, proved you were true blue. In flying, Aussie will never be at a loss, while we're sons like the boys in the Southern Cross. Kingsford Smith, we'll tell the world that we're proud of you. Though the way was long and the flight was hard, they did not hesitate, but just pegged on from dusk till dawn, and taking a risk so great, the Southern Cross like an albatross just flew and flew and flew. And when all trouble struck at them, they just kept on smiling through. But now that they've arrived here and in our sunny land, let's give the boys a welcome and a mighty big glad hand for Kingsford Smith. Aussie is proud of you, proud it's true, of you and your gallant crew through the storm so terrific, flying o'er the Pacific. Kingsford Smith, flying by day or night, proved you were true blue. In flying, Aussie will never be at a loss, while we're sons like the boys in the Southern Cross. Kingsford Smith, we'll tell the world that we're proud of you.
I've been around the world a couple of times or maybe more. I've seen the sights and had me like so many foreign shores. But when me coppers ask me the place that I adore, I tells them right away. Give me a home among the gum trees with lots of plum trees. A sheep, a duick, a kangaroo, a clothesline out the back, veranda out the front, and an old rocking chair. Standing in the kitchen, just cooking up a roast, or Vegemite on toast. You and me and a cup of tea, and later in the evening, we'll settle on the porch and watch the possums play, and we can sing along. Give me a home among the gum trees with lots of plum trees. A sheep, a duick, a kangaroo, a clothesline out the back, veranda out the the street, and a hot bum out just down the road where they regulate the heat. But I trade it all tomorrow for me little bush retreat, where the kookaburras play. Give me a home among the gum trees, with lots of plum trees. A sheep, a duick, a kangaroo, a clothesline out the back, veranda out the front, and an old rocking chair. Some people live in houses with fences all around. Some they live in mansions, and some go under, kick around. But me, I much prefer the bush with rabbits running round, and a pumpkin vine out the back. Give me a home among the gum trees, with lots of plum trees. A sheep, a duick, a kangaroo, a clothesline out the back, veranda out the front, and an old rocking chair. Give me a home among the gum trees, with lots of plum trees. A sheep, a duick, a kangaroo, a clothesline out the back, veranda out the front, and an old rocking chair. Here we go! Give me a home among the gum trees, with lots of plum trees. A sheep, a duick, a kangaroo, a clothesline out the back, veranda out the front, and an old rocking chair. And an old rocking chair.
a beer. You seem scared of everything that I hold dear. You're all panic, but that's just fine. You ride your way and I'll ride mine. Over to you, fellas. You wear fancy boots while I've got spurs. Fancy boots, and he's got spurs. I just love the cold, but you like furs. Loves the cold, she loves furs. You rush ahead while I take my time. Listen, you ride your way and I'll ride mine. Drive and learn, guys. I love it. A bit of eating here, I think. Rolf loves to eat. We like to eat. Nothing like an eat. Come on, let's eat. You really hate this old land of mine. It's sad. But you'll learn to love it if you take your time. Listen, it's all part of a grand design. Why don't I ride your way, you ride mine? Hip-hop, bibbidi-clop. Hip-hop, bibbidi-clop. You ride high, I'll ride low. I'll go fast, you go slow. Horses for courses and that's just fine. I ride your way and you ride
Let me tell you all a story, let me sing you a song. Fill 'em up again, Jack, it won't take long. I got those blue mountain blues. It's a sad, sad story that I tell to you. It's a sad, sad story, but it's very true. I got those blue mountain blues. Those blue mountain blues. When I left home, I said to my pal, keep your eye on my little gal. I shouldn't have. No, 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 no. 'Cause when I got back to the big gum sticks, my baby had learned some brand new tricks. I got those blue mountain blues. Those blue mountain blues. her away. She ain't a-comin' back. Oh, bring back my blue-eyed gal to me. She left me here standing all alone, saying you can sit and wait till the cows come home. I got those blue mountain blues, those blue mountain blues.
tea, I'll have a beer. You seem scared of everything that I hold dear. You're all panic, but that's just fine. You ride your way and I'll ride mine. Over to you, fellas. Hip-hop, 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 hip-hop. You wear fancy boots while I've got spurs. I just love the cold, but you like furs. You rush ahead while I take my time. Listen, you ride your way and I'll ride mine. Drive alone, guys.
Thank you all for joining us this evening. We're going to start our Q&A in just a moment, as soon as the dancers have a chance to catch their breath. So if you would like to stay and join us, please do. Those of you in the back that want to join us can move forward while the dancers are grabbing their water. So thanks again for joining us this evening, and thank you to the artists for sharing with us. So I just want to start by letting the artists introduce themselves. And the dancers, if you could just tell us how long you've been working with Sarah, or if this is your first project.
Hi, my name is Letitia Hayes, and this is the second project that I've done with Sarah. I danced with her last September, actually, and it's been a year.
Hello, my name is Nate Bond. This is the first project I've done with Sarah.
Hi, I'm Therese Gall, and I have the pleasure to work with Sarah at City Dance and perform with her a year ago.
Hi, my name is Anthony Barbier. I've known Sarah for about 6 years now, and we've been dancing together for 3 of those. So.
I'm Sarah. Thank you all for coming. It's wonderful to see a full audience for the first night.
So Sarah, I'm really curious about your process, but you have such beautiful dancers and they're so diverse. So I was hoping you could talk to us a little bit about how you selected your dancers for this project and maybe how long your process was of creating the work.
Okay, we probably worked on it just over 3 months. And the first 6 weeks we did nearly all task work. We'd come in with one idea, play with it, make 32 counts, film it, and forget about it. And I'm interested in working with people from different backgrounds. I love that we can't even really do a warm-up together. Someone does a ballet bar, someone else is just doing roll downs, push-ups in the corner, and I love that everyone has a different way of looking after their body and then being able to move that way. But with the task work, we could kind of give a thought or a metaphor or something and see where everyone went with it in a different way and then bring all those things together, which to me is the most interesting way of making work. And I think that's, especially for contemporary work, the point is to show different versions of the same thing. That's what has been happening over the last 100 years in all contemporary and modern art. And so I think that that's kind of my way of doing that, giving everyone a little bit of information and finding out what they do with it next.
And to ask you about the obvious, the stages, and how was it working on, you obviously didn't have the different levels within the studio, so how did you guys tackle that challenge?
I'm going to give credit where credit's due. This stage design was what Company E used last year. And actually when you called me to say, what are the dimensions, what are you really wanting, I literally said, I want what Company E had. Because when I watched, I was sitting over here and I remember being able to look back, and when the dancers were on the stage, it almost at times looked like they were in a cave, and I thought that was a really interesting way of using this space. It's a wonderful stage, but a slightly smaller stage, and it's square, so that's just a slightly different space to work in. And so to make that an asset, I think to make it a separate place and then to have all of this means that we're closer to the audience and closer to more people, which I think is more interesting as well. As far as the way we worked, we put ballet bars on the outside of the shape to make sure we got used to not using the whole space and falling off the edge. So we practiced with about 1 or 2 feet narrower than what it was, so that then we knew that we would be safe on stage. But it's interesting now to be in the space, and the stage feels so big now. Standing on stage, it's like, oh, it's so safe and beautiful up here, and I can't fall off. It's really nice. Yeah, we didn't really work with the 2 levels until tech. We had one day with a 1-foot-high platform that Strathmore, we convinced the operations department not to put it away so that we would have 1 weekend to practice with it, but other than that was just imagination.
One last question, and then I'll open it up to the audience. Can you talk about used props and set in your work? Can you maybe speak about the fences a little bit? We have small fences and large fences.
So the fence that's on the stage, that was part of the original submission that I did. I wanted to make kind of this idea of the Australian dream, which is the same really as the American dream, to own a standalone house with a white picket fence, and to kind of have that set up there so that it became a home for this couple when they come in. This fence came later, and we kind of realized how many ways we could divide the space, which kind of speaks to the piece, but also the fact that when the 2 men are dancing with the duet with the fence down here, the division that's there forces them to have a relationship, because they're not just in the same space, they're on either side of a fence, they're neighbors now, so they have to connect. And I think that with all the divisions that you can make between a group of people, sometimes the differences can force the relationship as well, which we wanted to explore.
Does anyone in the audience have questions? Courtney and Abby are here with microphones, so if you just raise your hand, they can come over.
Thanks. I wanted to know what the colors meant. I felt like there was a representation in the costumes, and what was it speaking to about Australia?
Really for the costumes, I wanted it to be similar enough that by the end we look like a unified group, but different enough that when you first meet each group, there's something a little bit different, but keeping in the same color scheme. And then really, the red dirt in the outback in Australia is a really amazing thing. I think it was 10 years ago when I was in college. My mum and dad and I drove up the west coast, and that was the first time I'd really seen the outback, and it's stunning. This color of the earth it's amazing, and the stones, and so we kind of pulled colors out of really a series of photos that I found of the outback.
Anyone else?
Anthony kind of in Thank you. In the sequence you were talking about with the fence splitting the stage, Anthony kind of went off the stage a little bit, and in a very controlled way. I'm sure it was purposeful. And then Nate also had some lifts on the back part, and I wondered if did that have something to do with boundaries? Was there some meaning behind that? Or?
There can be.
Yeah, like Sarah mentioned earlier, a fence is one way to divide space, and in our effort to show that we had, in the end, become a unified third culture, so to speak, we were investigating ways of kind of blurring the line, like not only metaphorically, but literally, and so that's when we began to investigate the threshold of the levels, and all of us kind of using that in a very common way, and just sitting there so that you can't really tell anymore, things like that, so I'm sure you kind of picked up on that.
Could the dancers talk about timing and your use of peripheral vision and how the hell do you do it?
The screen up there. Easy to copy, people.
I would say peripheral vision is definitely an integral part of the final piece for sure, because Sarah calls it the rise of the army, and so at that point we kind of come together from different places and finally unite. So definitely we have our moments where we split apart. I have to really either watch Anthony or hear the slam on the floor or see an arm sway to the side, and I have to be on cue for sure. And I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely feel for two different groups of people to become a third group of people. They don't both come to a space or an area or a country or land knowing, say, an 8 count of dance. They both come with two different things, and so they have to observe each other and kind of use osmosis or whatever you want to call it to blend those two things together. So I think that was definitely a large component of how we moved together in the space.
I think it has a lot to do with how the work is made as well. The different choreographers, different styles, and some of the sections in this were, put to counts 5, 6, 7, 8, and we were really sticking to that. But when it never has a count in it to begin with, and you all just have to learn it, there's kind of this internal timing that gets developed just based on how it comes into your body, and so we do a lot of sensing of each other in that way, for sure.
Yeah, I felt that there's many parts of the piece that it was very easy to feel where everybody was at and have a collective timing about it. But when the stage is so big and separated, in moments like that, it was challenging, and that's when we started working with counts and sounds to know where everybody was at.
So I noticed there was a lot of gestures within your phrase, and I think we've talked about this before, but the heartstring and the planting. Could you talk about that a little bit?
So the heartstrings comes from this idea of, for some people, home is where they're born, and that's the only place that they'll ever call home. And other people want to live somewhere else, and they decide where they're going to put down their roots in that area. And so heartstrings was kind of this idea of where you choose to be and why you choose to be there. Maybe you're there because of a person or because of a job, or because, any number of reasons why people move to new countries. But also that little phrase, the grass is always greener. There's this one that goes around the internet that says that's because that person's been watering their grass over that side. So there's this idea of putting down your heartstrings and really caring about why you're putting it there and investing in your reasons for living where you live, and investing in that place, I think is very important. And as someone that lives overseas from their family, that's really important to invest in this city to make this a home away from home. And so that's where that whole section really comes from.
I'd like to ask this question of Sarah. I interpreted the fence, the picket fence, and the laying of the white boundary to perhaps signify a quarry site or a farm, perhaps. I interpreted those as evidencing dispossession of the indigenous people who lived there. Am I right?
Yeah, I knew he would ask the hard questions. To me, the solo that Nate does, laying down the big track through the middle, it's somewhat, well, it's very sad, I think, and there is, even these crosses, there's something about, at Arlington Cemetery, they remind me of the crosses there, and it's this very sad way of looking at progress as well. To me, that one, it's almost like he's laying down railway tracks, and it's kind of good and it's kind of bad, and that's a really difficult place to sit and for Anthony to sit and just watch it happen. I find that a very emotional solo to watch every time. Thank you for performing it so strongly. Yeah.
Can I ask about the end? How did you decide, is that the future? How did you decide where these folks would end up and how their cultures would blend together? Was that a hard process, or how did you get there?
That was really hard because we didn't really want anyone to end up on either piece of land, because now the hope is that by the end, this is all one land. And so people have to put their feet down someplace. You can't just rise off into the ceiling. And so that was hard and really something we only did in the last couple of rehearsals. But really the idea to leave the space, in some of the research I did, there was a lot of people suggesting that the way to find cohesive living with different cultural groups is to look at the one thing that everyone has to connect to, and that's the land. Everyone has to physically live on land. So that should be the last image, because that's the constant with all the different groups and things that can happen.
Can you talk about the musical selections? Are they Australian composers and so forth?
All of them are, except for one. The music that Anthony has for one of his solos is not, but I just really liked it. Everything else is Australian, and it was really cool when I was reaching out to musicians to get permission to use the music. Everyone just said, yes, that sounds amazing. I want to have my piece as part of that. It was really wonderful. The one, Home Among the Gum Trees, literally the email was, that's awesome, send me a program, done. And it was really nice to kind of have that connection to the Australian artists that made the music and to know how excited they were to have their music be part of it.
I was going to ask if there was a social message to your dance.
Mm-hmm. So I think the message, especially towards I feel like the first half is just a retelling of something that's happened, and then by the end is a hope for the future, and a hope that this last section we call Rise of the Army, and to me that's a fight, but a cohesive fight to all move forwards together. And that's maybe a difficult thing to do, but is really my hope, and I believe the dancers' hope, that's what has to happen.
Sarah, before we wrap up, could you talk a little bit about, on your journey, what was the most rewarding part of your process? It's not over, there's one more show tomorrow night.
I think when we started to make, a lot of the movement I started to make, I took a week and just lived in one of the rehearsal rooms here and just made movement. And we'd done all the tasking, but the movement, the phrase for the last section we really made together, and I choreographed in the room with the dancers, which I hadn't done up until that point. And when we got that phrase, it originally was a 4-minute phrase, start to finish, and then we broke it up into all the sections. When we got that unified, it's really amazing because the dancers are all so different, which I love, and there's very specific reasons for why I hired each of them. And part of that is their dance abilities, part of that is personality, part of it is performance skills. There's so many things that go into that. When everyone could come together and perform this 4-minute phrase all together, I feel like that was the hump to get over. And once we'd got that as a cohesiveness, then it was one team moving forwards. And for a group of people who hadn't even all met each other until the first day, was really nice to see that.
Great. Well, thank you all for joining us this evening. And let's thank you again to the artists for your brilliant performance this evening.
Thank you guys. Awesome.